Greetings from Kenwell. Today is Saturday, March 20th, 2021. Now, most of us lead very ordinary lives. Get married, get a job, buy a house, and live out a very quiet, unassuming life. But the guy I'm going to tell you about today, he wanted that in his life, but it sure did not end up that way. His name is Athanasius, and he was born in 296 AD in Alexandria, Egypt. At a very early age, he became a Christian, and he stood out above all of his peers. So much so that the bishop of Alexandria took him under his wings and taught him all the tenets of the Christian faith. The bishop was so impressed with Athanasius that he took him to this big conference in Nicene. And Athanasius was excited because he was going to meet the Roman Emperor Constantine. Now, the main reason for this conference was that Constantine had become a Christian, and he wanted a unified message in Christianity. At the conference were 318 men from all over the empire, and who were considered the cream of the crop in Christianity. At the conference, Athanasius listened and watched as his friend and bishop taught that the scriptures tell us that Jesus Christ was 100% human and at the same time 100% divine. On the opposing side, with this guy here named Arius, he said the math simply did not add up. And there's no way that Jesus could be 100% divine and 100% human. And Arius also taught that it was God the Father who created Jesus. Jesus was a creature. Well, at the end of the conference, vote was taken. It was 315 to 3 in favor of the bishop and his group. The truth definitely won out that day. You know, the Bible clearly teaches us that Jesus is God. Look at John 1:3. It says, He, Jesus, was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him, and without him was not anything made that was made. Clearly says Jesus is God. Well, Arius, he was royally ticked off. And even though the truth was staring him in the face, he was not going to change his mind. You know, this reminds me of this little clip I'm going to show you from A Few Good Men.
You can't handle the truth!
The document was finalized and it became known as the Nicene Creed that you see here on the screen. It was shortly after the Nicene Council that life changed dramatically for Athanasius. The bishop died and Athanasius was unanimously voted in as the new bishop of Alexandria. But the ticked off Arius, he was scheming and he wanted to get rid of Athanasius. He devised the scheme where he got one of his good friends to tell lies to the emperor. As a result, the emperor exiled Athanasius for 2 years. And upon the death of the emperor, it was only then that Athanasius was allowed to return home. By this time, Arius had also died, but his followers, who became known as the Arians, sure didn't give up the fight. Athanasius was exiled a total of 5 times, if you can imagine that. And there were a number of times when armed men burst into his church wanting to kill him. Now, can you imagine how Athanasius must have felt? Here he is up at the pulpit preaching a message of love from Jesus Christ. Then he looks up and he sees this armed, violent men wanting to kill him. I am sure that by the time he was exiled the 3rd time, he was saying to God, why is this happening to me? The 5th exile began in October 365, and fortunately, because of political pressure, Athanasius was allowed to return in February 366, where he lived out the rest of his life in peace. In closing, Athanasius was faithful to the gospel of Jesus Christ for his entire life. My very wise professor at McMaster Divinity College told me that I should emulate the lives of the saints. In my life, I will take the example of Athanasius, and I will be faithful to Jesus Christ in everything that I do.